And we are on safe zone for this one. Tarangsek and Ducky versus Bilal, Livy, and yes, you guessed right, Ducky. Bilal on the right-hand side immediately picks up that Pierce. We mentioned it already. Leon slid through the bans as well. Not as good on safe zone as the other brawler, but I think both of these will have a couple of more showings today.
Colt's open, Kaze banned away I think is quite important, but Melody is still going to be on the table if either of these teams are fancying an all-in option, especially against a Pierce comp. Or you just answer the Pierce straight away and say, okay, shoot me, bro. I have return to sender. I also have I have Peep that can allow me to either get that free safe pressure or even cross the map and start hitting it myself.
Yeah, you got a lot of different ways you can play this Nanny, but I feel like more than anything, it's just a response to the Pierce. Pierce is the best sharpshooter in Brawl Stars right now. It's why we see him so frequently in the global bans. It's why he's worthy of a first pick here. Even though he can actually be pretty straightforward to counter, you just get stuff that goes in close range, and I think that's probably what the last pick is going to be reserved for here, considering we're on safe zone and we don't have any major safe damage yet from Homeless.
And that could be Colt, for example, that safe damage you just mentioned. Also to open up the map, Brock could do the same. And an open map is going to help if you have a sniper on your team. And Pierce is exactly that.
Oh, no.
Completely different direction here. Daryl is going to be picked up. What is this? Are we going to see a Kid Daryl comp?
Oh my
That would be
gosh.
so troll, honestly. I would love that. There's a lot of wide open expanse on this map that's pretty hard for the Kid to cross, but I think...
Bull is open, just putting it out there.
Can you imagine that? That would be messed up, bro. I mean, again, you got someone... Why are we picking Daryl over the Bull, I guess?
Exactly.
Yeah, you could dash twice, basically. The first one misses. Yeah, you can... I don't know. I think you can really afford to miss some of these things. Also, Bull doesn't charge his for free. He has to take damage, so
That's true.
There are plenty of reasons to play Daryl here. When you get a super for free, you're also getting hypercharge for free. So that's really the mentality here, is constant aggression.
Bull has a buffy though, and a 71% win rate on
That's
this
true.
map.
Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, again, you are still looking for something that can close the gap on Bilal and Livy here. Obviously, we're going to have the jump gadget for Angelo, so it won't be so easy. But I want to remind you guys, Zemp is a tank player. It's kind of what he does. So I really do expect them to round out their comp with that. And yep, here is the Bull. Both teams draft themselves a tank, but those little differences, really, you talked about in terms of how the super is built for Tyron, or for whoever's going to be playing the Bull, and Ducky is something we're going to be looking closely at.
Yeah, and so look at Bull. Like, what is your matchup here as Bull? Well, you're not going to be touching Angelo, probably. He can just jump away if he wants to. Pierce, also vulnerable. You can opt to blast people away if you really want to. Could go for that defensively. So those are kind of the matchups that I'm looking for Bull. Once he takes damage, he'll also be working on getting his super. Could potentially get it off of Daryl as well. I think it'll be a struggle for him to get his super, but as with anything with the tank trait, he's going to be getting it for free. They're only playing for points here, but it's with a postseason in mind. LCQ or World Finals is what they're hoping for now.
I tell you, the exchange rate on bragging rights and NA is quite high. It's definitely worth trying to get yourself some of those. Ducky getting forced down pretty low. That's the Ducky IE, not the Ducky Y, who's shooting him right now. You guys are really going to tilt me. All right, Zemp here sees as Livy come past. It's going to be a super hit by Angelo, and Zemp is a little bit too low and ticking down because he just touched the ring of poison. Although, Ducky able to go to work on the safe. Remember, as Livy as Angelo is not the best candidate to damage safes in general. We saw Ducky Y pop a return to sender there amidst that, and here come Vatic.
Vatic just needs some damage here. Ideally, they get Ducky over here. Ducky's going to roll right through the Bull, who is killed mid-dash by Bilal. It's a big heads-up play from a sniper who's not typically the one who's going to be taking out a charging Bull. So far, it's a damage advantage for Vatic. They've gotten Homeless down to 66%, but just opting to retreat for right now. They see all of this kit built up for Homeless, and they know they have to take a defensive stance, or at least they do, until Ducky gets his next free super.
Sandbags are pretty good here. Here comes Ducky Y trying to pressure Ducky IE on the right side of the map. Hypercharge low coming in for the Daryl. Ducky IE doesn't quite get to the safe. Zemp going to try and reciprocate. Charge on in and gets a close range shot. This keeps, though, Vatic in the lead as Ducky wants to come forward. Nice damage there as Livy gets taken down by return to sender. That's the danger of going after the Nani.
Bilal just needs to churn out damage here, and he is absolutely tapping right now, trying to get Zemp through the wall as Livy comes around to wrap and gets a second kill as well. The sniper duo are keeping home territory safe, but they have to be watchful for this hypercharge from Zemp. Just a little bit more damage is all he needs to take in order to get that super for free, but he's also going to try and just get some hits off on Ducky, who's doing everything in his power to stay away and get his next super charged up.
Can't really get an ideal recoiling rotator there, though, and yet well predicted by Bilal. Sets a super down on the safe, and Zemp's going to run headlong into it. Vatic still have a bit of a lead now. Bilal's going to make his way back into the map, and You'll note here that he's continuing to hit these shots even with those sandbags in place. Bilal with a hyper. Ducky Y could be in trouble. Ducky IE is going to be leaping upon him. Still, knock off the safe shield down to 48 with 13 in the round.
It was an awesome defense from Nanny. It's going to have to be one final play from FA Homeless. They need to get this safe down to 48 to at least tie, but Zimp cannot connect. 5 seconds to go. Tyrant with a desperate supply drop on top of the safe, but it's just not enough. Vatic had defense on lock with these snipers, but it wasn't really that much of a matchup difference. I think they also played this, they executed this so well, and it's something that we haven't had the privilege of seeing, I believe, in previous months. I think they just got diffed on the draft, on the matchups. And here you see Bilal executing with that Pierce. He's lining up the shots onto a charging bull that's behind him. That's a difficult shot to hit.
Yeah, two very valid compositions, but Vatic just piling theirs that much better. Ducky Y looked pretty good with some of his return descenders on as Livy's direction and was connecting some decent safe shots, but Ducky IE more frequently has that super ready to cross the map.
Vatic playing defensively. Ooh, yeah, some pretty serious damage as Livy's just fighting to stay alive here on the left side. Tyrant pushing up very aggressively. Those sandbags are going to be quite useful into these snipers who only have a single shot to work with. Meanwhile, on the right side, just a bit of a void in power. And Ducky is going to take the opportunity to dash in just to delay the push from Homeless. Bilal also taken down on the right side, just not really what they needed at all. All kinds of flurries of attacks meant to defend against Ducky. Will end up taking him down, but not before suffering a total of 48% of damage.
Yeah, that is a lot. Vatic are so far ahead right now, and frankly, they can just regain map control if, FA Homeless aren't careful. Ducky a little bit low. Here comes Ducky IE. They're going to be able to run him down. That's 2 picked up for the Daryl and some free safe damage. Don't mind if I do. He's going to be able to knock it down to that square 50%.
Vatic still playing defensively. Bilal has his hypercharge ready to move. Ducky and Tyrant are ideal targets for this. Zemp is just going to have to be a team effort to take down hypercharge out from Tyrant. But where's the super to follow? He's got one down. That's really all that matters. On the right side, it's a strike from Ducky as he bowls over the bull himself. And before moving in, Ops2 once again hide behind this indestructible on the right side. Ducky decides to charge forward. It's up to the snipers to deal with this bull. And it's only really Bilal, but he can churn out damage. Look at him walking over his shots to continue to churn it out.
Yeah, Zemp gets a knock, but you see, yep, down to 24 as FA Homeless is safe. That's good damage coming in from Livy. He's been focusing down whenever he has a bit of room. Zemp may not quite make it to the safe here. Okay, he's able to get a touch. As Livy there, good healing. Another knock now, down to 46%. But in the meantime, FA Homeless are trying to work their way through the middle of the map. Someone has to deal with Zemp because he's basically even this game up on his own. Knock now down to 19. Vatic have fallen behind here. 17 seconds left in the round. They need to go after Ducky. Return to center active, but Bilal is not brought down by it. Still a lead for FA Homeless now. Out of nowhere, Vatic have to go, and they've got to go now.
Well, Homeless only have one more chance. They got to dodge in with this bull. Ducky battered around 21% to 16. 5% more is all they need, and they will lead by 11%. What a close one. It's like their nightmares came true on top of the safe. Not only did Bull come in for 2 separate procs of the shield on the safe, but on the final when he knocked it down to 19, that's because an entire Bull shot is going to do like 6% damage on the safe. That is how much he does. It is why he's such a high priority brawler. But you got to give the good kind of kudos to Vatic over here for finally being the ones to let Bull through the draft on such a crucial mode for him to be played and winning in spite of it.
Realizing that the Daryl has more frequent opportunity to super into the map and also has recalling rotator to add to that upfront safe damage if you ever get on there for free. So in this very niche example, it might just be that Ducky is, Ducky IE rather, is making the correct tank pick. You can see here, of course, just constant pressure coming in from Bilal. Great Pierce play in general. And Ducky Y, so great, nunny gadgets, so it was pretty important. But look at Zemp getting absolutely trashed there. You can see just how powerful Daryl can still be. One of those earlier hypercharged brawlers, at least in terms of the tank class, and after the rework, he's, still very powerful.
Here's where things went wrong, by the way. This is the time that Zip finally pushed in successfully. He stayed on that save for a very long time. Ultimately, with another push in, dropped it down to 16 before this final clutch moment from Vatic. They were able to get a pretty sizable 11% lead in the end game. You have to hand it to these snipers for consistently defending the bull. Look at this. Well, but see, Zip also isn't going for kills.
Yeah.
And you see Ducky over here, not necessarily going for kills either. There were points where he's trying to kind of use enemy brawlers as a springboard to get forward. He has a couple of rolls if he, decides to use both of for them to get to the safe. However, it wouldn't be so bad to charge up another one mid-transit or just like pick up a kill.
If cycle that super on the move, right?
Exactly.
And again, so Zemp had way more safe damage, almost 80,000 over the course of the series. So he was very, very impactful there. Less a disruptor, more a safe damager. Vatic, though, going to take that first set away. Now, heading into Gold Arm Gulch straight away, the Ollie is just off the table. But Angelo, though, is open because Leon has been looked at pretty closely. Pierce has been taken away. And Vatic say, well, we'll just find the next best sharpshooter.
He's definitely a first-pick brawler. He's been banned out so much. I think at the end of the day yesterday, we wrapped up by looking at the ban rates for every brawler, and Angelo had been banned 15 times, and we didn't even have a win rate for him because he didn't get the chance to be picked a single time. And it exemplifies how strong this brawler is, but this is a deliberate decision by Homeless to leave this brawler open. I think just because, honestly, there are higher priority brawlers here, and typically you'll see Pierce as a sniper reserved for those global bans.
And I wonder if we see the Daryl make appearances later on in this series. The tick for Gold Arm Gulch is really interesting. Full control brawlers picked up so far for this side. Remember, the global bans from FA Homeless definitely indicate they want to try and get Zemp on a tank that's not easily countered, but we don't often see Tick on this map.
No, and the reason is that he just gets run down. Like, he is a win condition in the end game. He has his hypercharge. You're going to lay down a bunch of hypercharge mines that do a butt ton of damage, but he's so vulnerable in close range. Now, Ollie has been eliminated here, so that's one less thing that they have to worry about. Daryl's totally playable. Brock was wide open.
You're going to open the map up now.
Exactly, yeah. And so Homeless know this, so what are they planning on to punish this? Because now you've actually committed with a couple of sharpshooters that aren't really that strong in close range. Meeple also not going to be amazing in close range. He can box an enemy that's going aggro. I don't think you'd really run Rage Quit here. Yeah. And you can also take up a bunch of room. If you trap a thrower, that's also fair play. So it's going to be good for punishing anything over-aggressive, but you're lacking on DPS here for Vatic.
Yeah, absolutely. FA Homeless also not exactly huge amounts of direct damage. Zemp can hope that people walk into those mines, but that's rarely ever a guarantee. So what rounds this composition out? You can go for something durable or something with good sustain. So in general, though, it's a pretty defensive comp. It's a comp that wants to play for that late-game inevitability of the map closing in. So it's going to be a race against the clock here for Vatic to actually open that map up and abuse their double sharpshooter look.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to get into mid just off the beginning of the game. Like, that's one of the things that Jaeyong is best at. If this were Bounty, we would be talking about him getting the blue star because that's how quickly he closes into mid. Now here on Gold Arm Gulch, mid, I don't think people really think about it that much, but you can get spawn trapped on your side, and there are not many points to get out of there. It's just 3 chokes. That's where Tick can come into play. So if we see Jaeyong move things forward too quickly, then Vatic won't be able to deal with it. You see Bilal has actually moved directly over the water, even probably went for the jump. We'll see in a moment whether he did decide to go for Stinging Flight with his gadget choice. But now the normal thing ensues, fighting along the diagonal, and Ducky slowly breaking open the map to enforce the dominion of the snipers versus the thrower.
Yeah, playing the diagonal and also with a bit of room to breathe now, Bilal can get some damage down at these longer ranges. Tyrant here obviously will start to find that those safe zones begin to become more scarce. Still happy to keep Ducky at bay here. No chance for Brock to really get into the map meaningfully. Manchester Meeple there towards the bottom would, in theory, allow his Livy in, but he was actually tagged up by that RT and didn't want to overextend.
It's also useful just to break open this bush on the bottom left. Like, yes, Ducky can do that, but his rockets have higher priorities. That's an early game pick. Ducky with a Y is going to come out on top, and now it's a 3v2. Vatic still trying to farm up some utility here. Ducky's going to back him all the way up. Zemp at risk of going down. Ducky also boxed. Just missed timing on that because you would really like to rain down that firepower on someone who's trapped in the box. Ducky gets one more, and he'll get to farm some hypercharge off of his Livy on the top right. I think that's probably the highest priority super and hypercharge combo for this composition from FA Homeless.
But now Vatic gets to start the round with the map open up a little bit more and much of that grass missing. So this is about as good as it gets for them in terms of favorable beginnings. This is even against the Jaeyong setup here of FA Homeless, who know they can't really afford to get too deep into the map. Now, you can't afford to have Islivy picked off, though, by an RT or something similar. You really need to make sure nothing random sort of gets thrown in your direction. You can see those incendiary fields preventing Ducky with a Y from getting too close.
Ducky's still breaking open these walls, but it doesn't seem like they've broken it open enough because even Bilal is kind of struggling versus Tyrant on the bottom side as he is slowly backing up. This is perfect for Vatic, though. This is just where they want FA Homeless to be. Everyone bunched up together. Only a couple ways of really getting out of this spawn. Tyrant doesn't mind being behind a wall, but he doesn't have long to sit around here before that poison's going to start damaging him. He's already taken 2 ticks of damage. damage at risk of being one-shot by Bilal, and he gets it perfectly aimed. Ducky falls immediately after, and Zemp knows exactly what's going to happen. Just avoid feeding hypercharges and supers. He's going to, no, actually he must be close to his hypercharge if he's deciding to stay here and keep feeding supers to the enemy side.
The bad news, though, now is for FA Homeless that the map remains really open. Vatic are going to benefit by getting to this third round. They've got a comp that wants to go as long as possible in these series if they don't win outright. So now you have the same issues as FA Homeless. You don't really have a lot of places for Tyrant to safely play. In fact, he's in the only area that's somewhat protected against these sharpshooters.
I'm still hung up over him getting ticked by the poison twice and then getting one shot by Bilal.
Yeah.
Just a poor play by such a veteran player as well. I think it speaks to just the volume of the stakes here for FA Homeless. They're still really trying to make a name for themselves. They got dropped by their org leading into this month. That is why they are homeless, but according to them, they're on an upward trend. We'll see if they can force it here as they've now been trapped in jail on the bottom left. Ducky with a super forward, Ducky with the Y taking major damage, and another hypercharge pop to continue to hammer down.
That's the dangerous part. You've got that Brock super with Mantis of Meeple combo. You might not have a thrower, but you've got someone who can vomit damage inside that small area, arcing over the top of the wall. Tyrant's going to get picked up here, and this round, folks, is over. Zemp would like to give as good as he gets here, but he knows he is absolutely cooked. And Vatic has shown us what can happen here if they're not knocked out in knockout real quick.
And I think we've actually seen from Homeless just what they can deliver too, because it looked decently solid off the beginning. Though it's like what you said earlier, this is a countdown to those walls being broken and Tick not really having much of anywhere to go. You ended off round number 2 with Tick being all the way backed up into spawn, just not a point of interest on this map. It's about mid in the end game. We'll see a different rollout from FA Homeless this time, putting emphasis on the right side rather than the left, and Vatic don't seem to have any issues with adapting. They'll open up this mid wall immediately so that Azlivi has plenty of room to walk around, and despite the best efforts of Tyrant, doesn't look like he'll be ticked up by that much damage. In fact, considers going aggressive, but is punished heavily for it.
Azlivi, yeah, needs to chill for a sec here. Bilal also losing out against Ducky, and now you've opened up for the RT to actually pressure in some of these shots against your low health team. This is claustrophobic for Vatic. They need to open the map a little bit more, and frankly, they haven't really been given the time or space to do so.
I think one of the struggles here is also Bilal is just having issues hitting these shots. Ducky's being really evasive. Tyrant is staying perfectly out of range. Just Tick has so much range. It's one of the things that makes him incredibly useful in knockout and bounty, but just doesn't have much to offer in close range. Bilal's considering going straight in. He's able to jump out. Is Livy barely nicked by that mine as this drops to a 2v3.
Yeah, Ducky knows now he just needs to open up the map before the round ends. He's not trying to get any meaningful damage or kills with that super, but it is a 2v2. Things got a little bit tight, but last hurrah there for Tyrant is pretty nice in these situations. And Bilal, well, he's had a hard enough time hitting the shots already, but has a Tick head to get in the way and guarantee the win to FA Homeless.
Yeah, say hello to my little friend. It's the last thing you want directly in front of you as an Angela. You can't shoot through it. It's just going to blow you up. It does mean a bit of lost utility for Tyrant. He would have loved to have his hypercharge and super ready at any time, but he still has a hypercharge, so that's all fine and dandy for him. The only thing that's not going his way is that these walls have been severely damaged by Ducky's progress. Ducky even using some supers to expedite the breakdown of the terrain.
Yeah, it's huge now, and we can see how different the game looks when this Vatic composition actually has these nice long sight lines to work with. Ducky running out of places to hide, but his fire rate is vastly higher than Bilal's. Three shots of the RT to basically one of the Angelo, depending on when Bilal chooses to let go of the bowstring. So Bilal needs to be careful. He can still get tapped down. There it is. Ooh, one more shot would have done it for Ducky, but no. Here's Ducky with an IE, though. A hypercharge pop. Tyrant's going to be forced down and out of the map, but here is a head-first usage to force some shots.
It's a great thing that Tyrant had that. Otherwise, Ducky could have spawn trapped him, and it would have been the same thing all over again. Now it's 3v3 as the poison is boxing everyone. Ducky's taking major damage on the bottom left. Ducky with an IE on the right side going down unexpectedly. And here comes the wood chipper from RT. That is the win condition here for RT in knockout. It was always a countdown to this ability being available.
Honestly, you feel like they probably would have gone again in Vatic's direction if they're able to be a bit more oppressive with the Angelo. Feels like at times they're not able to hit consecutive shots. I think in the first set it was Azlivi picked up the Angelo, now it's Bilal, but a lot of dodging we're seeing here from Ducky and Tyrant. Bilal not able to get too much consistent damage, but that's decent off the rip to get a shot on the Tick.
That's pretty great. Bilal wanted to pinch in with Brock around the left side, but this is one of the biggest things that became an issue for them in the last game, is that they're like, okay, let's get aggro on Tick, and then they can't really get much out of it. All they do is feed Tick some damage, which isn't always the worst thing, but they, I think, were killed by the Tick Super a couple times, or at least they were denied the ability to get a kill. The Hypercharge headfirst from Tyrant saved him from getting boxed in a spawn by Ducky on this Brock in the final round of game number 2.
Oh, that's nice from Ducky, as Livy is in trouble here. Yeah, being pinched on either side now, and eventually Zep's going to find some damage on him. You can't afford that to happen. Losing a player in the neutral is a very bad sign for you. And now FI Homeless starting to exert their presence a little bit more in a 3v2 situation. It's going to be difficult for Ducky and Bilal to get too much more value. The latter is playing towards the bottom of the map. Now the gas has come in. They'll look like to try and make a swift exit.
This was excellent from FA Homeless to get their early game pick. Hardly any walls broken open this time. You'll also see like different priorities in terms of the wall break. You'll see Tyrant once again on this right side, just like he was last round, just like he was off the beginning of game number 2. Now, Vatic, they have course corrected on one issue. Bilal wasn't able to hit those shots, and he got some gimmies off the beginning. But this time, that Welcome to the Swamp is not going to be doing anything on the right side. Bit of dispersion at the hands of the Mansions of Meeple, but Vatic are slowly having to move back. They're being tapped too much by Tyrant, pressure too much by Zemp, who actually gets caught out in the neutral, dropping this to a 3v2.
Okay, this has started to get a bit more interesting now. Jump gadget there, which is something maybe you could question, given that the map takes a while to break open. For Bilal, very useful there to avoid getting taken out. And now as this is a 3v2, you just need to play safe and smart, and you should be home and hosed for a decider round. Tyrant caught inside that Mantis of Meeple for only a moment, has a hypercharged super at the ready, which could be critical. There's Livy's low. What's he going for here? Oh, a last hurrah for Tyrant as Livy runs it in, maybe trying to make use of the rage quit gadget. Either way, Ducky is going to be left on his own and knows he needs to save that hyper for the next round.
Phew, that was almost really bad from Vatic. I'm not sure what that Angelo jump was, but it had me scratching my head. He almost actually died in the poison because of that. This is going to be early game control from Tyrant. Everyone has to back up and just dump their ammo, which means that they don't have as much to keep Homeless from pushing them into spawn. That's exactly the objective here on the right side. We'll see Brock have to move all the way back. Thankfully, Bilal took up that room, filled up that void on the left side, so it's going to now assume more of a left versus right dynamic that we're accustomed to.
Okay, you got to keep an eye on this hypercharge from the RT though. The end game feels like it's going to favor FA Homeless very heavily. If Vatic let themselves get there, they need to start to tap down that very high health RT, and that's a good start from Bilal, but more is going to be needed.
Just some kind of pick is what they need. Zemp is playing really aggressively, but he's so speedy that it's a difficult one for Bilal to hit. Thankfully for Bilal, he does have a hypercharge and super of his own. He's going to be healing as he moves around, which is going to also be sped up, what, 20% because of the hypercharge. That's a box on the right side.
No.
It's time to go. It's exactly what they needed. Despite the best efforts of Zemp, it's a kill on the right side. Bilal taken down by the blades of Ducky, and Ducky on the left side falls. It says Livy versus a close range Tick, but Tyrant has it. How often do you see that? A Tick winning a 1v1 with no walls in sight.
But it's Tyrant, man. The guy has been around the block a few times. Definitely not his first rodeo, and a very composed finish to a very close knockout game. This is what I'm talking about with FA Homeless. They are serious business. And honestly, there were two comps that had very scary potential when the gas starts to close in. That RT hypercharge definitely was a factor, but of course you could say the same of Angelo's hypercharge or the Tick's hypercharge. It's tough, I guess, for Meeple in that late game scenario. He's a control brawler, but when the map's open, he doesn't do a whole lot. He's really designed to try and at least let you stay in the game before those walls come down.
Just such an exhilarating set to kick off this match. Shows you how good FA Homeless have been, that they can take down an opponent like Vatic in spite of all their preparation, in spite of their scrim win rates and everything as well. Though this was a close affair. Vatic, I could absolutely see them having this. That was just a final heads-up moment. If like there had been one more hit of like a tick mine's worth of damage left on his Livy, then this was definitely his 1v1 to win.
Yeah, nicely done here. Of course, here are your match stats. And remember, the quiz is live at event.brawlstars.com. It's another great way for you to get your points towards your in-game rewards. The quizzes are going to come up in between games. You can also vote for your MVP. And if you made your predictions, you'll be earning points for those as well. That is the place to be joining us here for the BSC.
Love answering my quiz questions. Love voting for MVPs. We're not quite there yet. Let's not jump the gun, but you got to stick around to the end of the game to get the lion's share of the points and get your rewards in-game. But back to the match, this was crazy. That's an unreal KD for a tick. You just do not see that very often.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? We saw the comp was kind of low damage from the side of FA Homeless. They really wanted to play towards that end game. RT's always really scary, but then the RT's getting a couple picks early in the round. He's got the hack gadget, so all of a sudden it's like, wait, these guys can win before the end of the round. Two comps that wanted to win in two pretty different stages of the game. That was fascinating, but let's jump into this draft. First of all, Shade banned away on Sneaky Field. Sandy also out of the picture here. Frank and Jackie get banned, and that's FA Homeless that are choosing to take those brawlers out, and they're going to get themselves, of course, a pretty powerful anti-tank brawler in Clancy.
I think you can also tell that they want this Clancy because they ban stuff that's not going to be able to, that would be able to run at them super effectively. Also, you can tell that they might have wanted a Shade because they banned a couple of things that are so good at breaking open walls, and Jackie, which you would basically only play these days if you're specifically trying to counter Shade. Now, they'll pick up this Clancy early on. Clancy is probably the strongest anti-tank in the game at the moment. The only caveat is that he takes time to build up, and he doesn't really have much to deal with stuff in close range. Mo can totally deal with that, but if these walls break open, it's going to be much more difficult because Clancy, once he's leveled up, is going to outrange them.
And now, you need to try and find a composition that keeps you in the game until Clancy gets to that gold level, gets enough credits to become a real menace. Bull is always going to be a problem at every stage of the game, and with him not global banned and Leon being taken first, Vatic should have expected to see him, and I would suggest the Homeless might have thought they would just pick Bull first here.
Yeah.
They have two picks available to them. Vatic still don't go for the tank, and I think you're very happy if you're Homeless saying, all right, Zemp is going to have one of his favorite brawlers right now.
You just have to be so confident to pick Bull first, though, and I think you have to ban for it specifically. And when you look at the bans from Homeless, that's not what they went for at all. Now, of course, these are blind bans, so it's all about expectations and predictions, anticipations of what your opponent is going to go for. I think the obvious answer here, just for the Bull, is Nita. It's just that Nita doesn't have really a great matchup into the Ems. Yeah, and Ems isn't going to like fare too well into the Nita Bear once it's charged up. So this is all about getting the best lane matchups. Now, in terms of who plays mid over here, I could, absolutely see it being Ems from Homeless, and then maybe you see Mo try and pick up that mantle. Just the DPS is going to be lacking. It's going to be challenging to find a worthy matchup for Ems at mid. Yeah,
I mean, Mo could definitely dive down on that Ems with Super and get in sort of behind that gas cloud, but still, she's got so much in her kit that can deny that. Hypercharged Super obviously has a knockback effect. You have Friend Zoner now, which is aimed but has a stun capacity with the map not getting broken open too heavily. That's quite scary.
Looks like it's going to be a Bilal at mid. It makes sense because he has the range. You can also see that FA Homeless decided that they were going to double up at mid at first. Here's the risk with playing into a Bull is that he has so much HP, he just runs down your lane. Ducky really wants to get those taps on him. In fact, we're going to have to pinch him. He picks up one, not quite two, but his Livy slowed down. Can't get to the goal line in time to defend.
I'm telling you, that Buffy on the star power of Bull is disgusting. If you get elimination, you are invulnerable for half a second, which is huge because that's normal when the enemy team is desperately just spamming auto-aim at you.
Vatic once more going to have some trouble into the Bull. Zemp tries to rush right through the Nita Bear. It's not going to go his way. Right side, that Nita Bear is dealt with, but it baits out a lot of ammo as Livy gets that pass to himself that he needed. It's one of the risks of playing into Mo on Brawl Ball is that he keeps his super when he uses a super to change back to a form or to pass a ball in from long.
And that's the interaction of Mo into Ems that we thought would favor the Mo pretty heavily. Zemp goes down, but he dove deep, creates a map control. Tyra, though, is in deep trouble. Here come Vatic. Man, this is, that's about as clean as it gets. Zemp tries to rush on out and get something done. But this Vatic comp looks good. They left Bull open for a reason. They didn't ban for it. And honestly, their strategy prevails.
It's because they knew that they could pick for it, basically. The Nita is a hard counter to Bull, and sometimes it can be overwhelmed. And you saw in the early game, actually, it was quite overwhelmed. Zemp even charged into the enemy spawn, but all that while, you are feeding her super, you're feeding her hypercharge, and you saw the hypercharge was earned in, what, like about 40 seconds in the last game? It was one goal right after the next, and the Nita hypercharge isn't just great because it buffs her bear, it's because of that Buffy that makes her attack travel so much faster, it effectively extends her range. Now she has a bear, Zemp's gonna have to expend several shots to deal with it. This just means, another cycle bear for Ducky, but he decided not to commit. Instead, he just wants to hang on to mid because they haven't quite won the left side yet.
I think it's actually tough for Ems into the Leon as well. You can see very quickly, like Bilal is quite often able to get close enough to Tyrant, where Ems' gas clouds aren't at their most effective. But there it is. Yep, Ems cleaned up yet again. Tyrant's had a really difficult game. Zemp is chasing someone in the top corner of the map, but is not able to get the better of Ducky. And bro, we are losing our 1v1s hard over here. Vatic, 1 goal away from being up 2-0.
It's the problem of Ducky with the Y taking so long to charge up his next level, also just not having the long sight lines. It's going to be the initial takedown of Zemp. This should be the springboard that Vatic need to assume control of mid and then push up this effective line of scrimmage to the FA Homeless goal. They don't have the supers that they really need, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue to get them anyway. Ducky's probably only, what, a couple of shots off of his super, which is going to back everyone away, sap all of their ammo, and generate a goal for Vatic.
Yeah. Ducky Y, however, is close to gold here. Would love to build up to that point. Got to pressure these Nita Bears down very, very quickly. Here's Bilal, big damage into Zemp, who has no choice but to charge forward, apparently. Could have gone better for him. Here comes Livy, though, charging at Ducky Y. He's not going to get the better of him, though. Tyrant needs to fall back into the goal lest he get taken down, and Bruce does create a lot of space, but Zemp is back to pave the way for FA Homeless to get back into the map, but there is another bloody bear to deal with.
He just keeps feeding the bears. They knew that this is what they were going to do if they played Bull. It's just the obvious response, and Zemp is trying to skill dip it. But along the way, Vatic had been farming up hypercharges, supers. Here comes Tyrant trying to make a big play. It's not going to go his way, in fact, and Bilal has to pop the invis. He's running invis heal, interestingly. You don't see that often. Zemp charges forward for the dribble. Incredible. That's what we needed to see from Zemp, but it is a solo play to get that goal. He's really the only one who can score here.
20 seconds left in the round, though. Ducky has that super. It's been sitting on him for quite some time. Look at the damage out of the Clancy. It's disgusting. Zemp's going to open up the map, but here come FA Homeless. Vatic left the front door open, and they will be squatting to make this an interesting set.
I'm noticing a trend here for FA Homeless. It seems like the only way that they can get a goal is by steamrolling through the enemy team. And it's most effective when you do that right off a spawn. They've tried to do this when the game has just started. Because in Brawl Ball, you spawn further up on the map as opposed to other modes where you're at the back. So Homeless, once again, are going to try and force this Bull for it. I feel like they should probably back off just a little bit into the Nita. Zemp is trying to stay as far away as possible, but Ducky with the speed gear is able to rotate lane so easily through the bushes that it looks like a repeat of the last one.
Zemp getting chunked down here, needs to be very wary, as Livy obviously can splash damage around those corners. So Zemp stays out of the way. This, though, allows Vatic to set up shop here in mid. The lollipop drop is going to make it hard to know which way they're going to be coming from. Not to mention, the grass is completely intact. The map is barely broken up at all. Here is that faux fur making it almost impossible to burn down the bear, and Ducky just needs some damn credits. He's able to get them, though, and it's Vatic who just walk over FA Homeless.
It's just so tough for FA Homeless. Their Ems doesn't have a good matchup into this Nita. You also saw Tyrant use all 3 of his shots onto a shielded Bruce, and so then that was the green light for Nita to move in, because you're not going to be able to be killed by an Ems that doesn't have the ammunition to take you down. Then everything collapsed from there. So you're trying to keep Bull off the bad matchup, but then you don't have really anything to deal with the Nita. Zemp, however, skill diffs the right side, but it's only a trade, and that hypercharged Nita Bear is still alive and kicking. Could be enough to get rid of Ducky. No way! He didn't have the ammunition. Clancy has such poor reload speed that he had no choice but to try and walk it in.
Yeah, he's not quite gold credits yet. That is rough. Zemp here will be able to clear off the Bruce. Ducky is a couple shots away from being at full power. But this is Vatic with a 1-0 goal lead. Ducky, so close now. One more shot and he'll be there. Can he be unleashed and get FA Homeless back into the game? We're under a minute left. Oh, I see the hypercharge there for Bilal. That is scary. He's going to be hitting very, very hard, even from long distance on that Leon. Going to be a pseudo sharpshooter for a time. Here's another Bruce. Faux fur again needs to be worked through. Ducky's not getting credits for those hits either, which sucks for him. And there's the wall getting broken up. Ducky chasing the bottom corner. Here comes Ed Livy, though, and Ducky Y standing. Super had to be used, though. This is a problem. Lollipop drop gets Bilal close enough to score. And here come Vatic. Yet another set notched up.
Phew, take a breather after that one. It got pretty hairy there towards the end. You saw that Vatic had the utility advantage. They had a couple of hypercharges at their disposal. They also had Bruce with a faux fur gadget active, so they had a lot to block damage and to take down the enemy team. But even still, after all of that hesitation, they didn't find the perfect opening. Realized, look, dude, we got to force this now, and it came down to the wire, having to walk that ball through a Bruce.
Yeah, here, obviously, a bit of a replay of some of the moments from this sneaky field set. Ducky able to score here, but in general, the dive potential of this Mo, the pressure on Tyrant to make it hard for Ems to play the game, and then of course this, you know, whether it's Bruce with a faux fur shield or a hypercharge to be even stronger, very, very hard to deny this Nita the space as she walks up. Zeb honestly has some pretty sick individual moments here, but it's not enough to get FA Homeless over the line.
I think you could also observe the pressure exerted on Ems because Tyrant's like dumping a bunch of his ammo onto a Bruce and even gave up a goal pretty much because of that. The celebration from Vatic saying, oh my gosh, we might not go down in quarters this time, into a team that is absolutely on the come up. I think the same story goes for both of these teams where they like very much could be just outside of the top 3, but they're not. They consistently get the tough matchups.
Yeah, always. There's never an easy road for these guys, but in the long term, it's going to forge them into a strong team. In the short term, though, it means as good as they are, they won't be representing NA at Brawl Cup whatsoever. Neither of these squads will, but they've shown us some really good games. This has been a night of close matchups, and with double swoosh looming here, it's time for Vatic to put their foot on the accelerator.
Another bush map. Sometimes you love to see it, sometimes you don't. Does it play to your team's strengths? We've seen some double swoosh earlier today, and we saw it came down to Lily. I think that's just got to be a high priority in the bans. We saw an underdog team win with it, and it's one that I was thinking of as I was watching it. So who is going to play the gem carrier, and what is it going to be? We've seen it be all kinds of things these past couple of weekends, and Lily is wide open.
Yep, that is glaring to me for sure. Amber's obviously another option here. We've got Sandy, Clancy banned out obviously after that last showing. Stu is constantly getting targeted by this FA Homeless team. They go for Ems, obviously great for scouting those bushes, great for map control. They ban Tara away so they don't want to deal with a super that basically just ends the game on the spot. A ton of options though. You can still start to work those tanks in here. I mean, I'd be a little bit concerned about Leon making another appearance. Still
Leon,
on this map.
Lily and Kits are all open.
Ugh, crazy.
All kinds of wackiness happening in the draft, and no way really to play it safe, because when I see brawlers like Stu or Mo banned, like, yes, they're good. However, I think these are target bans against Vatic more than anything else. Like, Ducky's a really good Stu. Bilal is a really good Mo also. So it's more of a directive to, hey, play something real this time. So it's going to be Nita and her little brother Leon both on the same side. A preemptive Nita is really interesting because she is good here in general, but it's also a cautionary do not pick bull here. You're going to have to go for the next best bull counter while leaving it open for a last pick. They're not committing with it just yet.
It's a little bit awkward, isn't it? You can double down and take another tank here if you are the side of Vatic. You are concerned about maybe Kit also being last picked and being, diving onto your Ems. It's an easy way to neutralize her. So you take a very safe mid summoner here who can scout bushes effectively, right? So there's going to be a lot of info here for Homeless, as well as those invulnerability frames provided by Janet when she gets up in the sky.
She's going to be good at escaping anything that targets a gem carrier. Lily, we've already mentioned it. It is wide open. A lot of things to consider here. They could go bull and they could do it really safely. There's no way to counter it at this point. Not a strong way, at least for Homeless. But what is going to accent this Janet? They have a couple of solid lanes. What are they going to use to scout out the bushy side? No, they're actually going to pick up Lily themselves. Okay, so now what's the safe gem carrier for Vatic? As a last pick too, keep in mind, unless they're going to place this on Leon, which is a totally viable option.
Safe mid, you say?
Yeah.
Here's Ali.
Yeah, okay, definitely not. Notice that Mortis has also been globally banned, like none of that cheesiness, so you go for basically the next best thing to fill that role. The difference between the two is that Mortis is way easier to play than Ali. She's an extremely technical brawler. Her kit is just like a bunch of different interlocking pieces, like disparate pieces that you have to put together, but I trust the mechanical prowess of these individual players on Vatic.
Ali obviously behaves differently whether she's in bushes or out of them in terms of how her attack works, and you need to be able to get in and get out safely, which is easier said than done. It does generate a lot of pressure though for the Ems, and you'll see a lot of just pot shots being taken here to try and scout out these bushes between all three of these brawlers. You get decent info. Bilal there pulls up short because all of FA Homeless are grouped up and ready to deal with the Ali.
This Ali is going to be constantly diving the gem carrier. Also a worthy matchup for Ems, and now that he knows Ems is on the right side, he is on the hunt. One, not two, as Ducky pushes him back. Meanwhile, on the enemy front, Vatic managed to push away the assaulting Lily. It will be an exchange on the side of FA Homeless, but the gem deficit is getting pretty serious for Homeless. They're homeless, and penniless.
The lollipop drops in this speed boost abuse is insane from Ezlivy right now, I'm not going to lie. He gets up there, gets 3 gems, gets to get back to safety. Bilal here trying to dodge away from this caustic charisma, but there is no escape for the alley. Has he created enough space, though? Doesn't really look like it. Here's Bruce. Zemp deals with him pretty quickly, but ends up falling to the circus balls.
The deal with these assassins is that they create intermittent space. Oh, that was an ugly jump from Tyrant. He didn't have a super to get up into the sky, and he knew he had to jump, but that's what Backstage Pass does. It only blasts you away as far as that attack that you had aimed, and it was not aimed for very long.
Yeah,
here comes a hypercharge from Ducky, and he gets one. Could look for another on the Zemp. Nope, Zemp has to go into the Shadow Realm. Is his position going to be evident? Ducky knew that he was going to be rushing up to mid. Tries to intercept him there, unsuccessful. Only 10 seconds to go to take down Vatic's gem carrier.
Ducky a little low, but doesn't matter. All he needs to do is create a little bit of space. Okay, hypercharge super here for Tyrant, but it's only Tyrant there in the Levy! Okay, just before the round ends, he will be brought down, but this time it's Ducky, and bro ain't getting into the map. He's chilling. As Livy says, fine, I'll go. I'm pretty good at getting up close and personal and doing damage here. Very unlikely FA Homeless can do anything about this, but let's see. Ducky trying to come forward. Hypercharge active. Ducky getting sprayed on down. Hypercharge super down from Ducky, and all of a sudden, it's a reverse of what we've seen in the past on this very map from FA Homeless. Instead of throwing the game, Zemp actually allows FA to steal victory from the jaws of defeat, potentially.
Well, 10 seconds to go. They got a couple of assassins and more hypercharges. Not anything that FA Homeless can fire back against. They're going for Zemp, who's in the Shadow Realm, but he's going to pop out just in the nick of time. They could get him.
Oh!
Managed to do it, but Bilal is CC'd on the back right. Ducky with a Y, holding 10 gems this time. Still enough time for Vatic to interrupt, but they don't have hypercharges, so they don't have supers.
Yeah, again, there's a gem spawning out here. You're still going to go after the horde of them. FA Homeless. Can Zemp get out of here alive? That's crucial. Bilal trying to dive over towards Tyrant's direction. 8 gems for Zemp, and they have done enough. You love to see it. That's one way to shake the monkey off your back in a potentially deciding set. The Lily play this time is good for Homeless.
Lily can just be such a toxic brawler here in Gem Grab because you can do what FA Homeless did, where they basically lost for a minute and a half straight, and then they get, what, a solid Lily super forward? Well, actually, never mind. Okay, we have to give Tyrant credit for nuking the gem carrier as he dropped down from the sky with one final shot. But it created an opening for that hypercharge from Lily to come in. That's undodgeable, especially if you're Nita. You have no way to escape from it. And then, congrats, you lose. FA Homeless were all the way back on their home front, safe and sound, despite the hypercharges from Vatic. They don't have the aggressive ones that FA Homeless boast with their Lily.
And here's Bilal getting some damage done, but ultimately knows that, yeah, it's a little bit of a suicidal attempt there, just to try and at least go 1 for 1 and keep FA Homeless interested in that part of the map. There's Zemp, though, happy to use a super to deal with Ducky. All of a sudden, chance here for FA Homeless to get control of the weak side of the map, but Zemp's taken a lot of damage to move up.
Yeah, he's actually going to take a bunch of shurikens to the face from his Livy. He's rotating back over towards mid. He's going to get support also from Nita to keep away that Lily. It's not so great to see Bilal go down like that on the left side, but it's fine. He's just rushing in and dying. That's like part of the job as Ali, is you're going to die a lot, but if you can get a trade, then it's a fair interaction. It's a super utilized by Zemp and moves these gems over to a different carrier, one that I think has more difficulty staying alive than this Leon.
Tyron is slippery, and Bilal knows there's no point really going after the Janet right now. He's only got 3 gems on him. He's not looking particularly threatening. Zemp was the one that took that gem. Fair enough. Definitely feeling with this hypercharge, he's going to try and find Ducky, but with the lollipop drop in play, that is easier said than done.
It's just about finding this gem carrier, and Ducky hasn't fired any shots. Until now, he's still trying to scout out Zemp, and they haven't been able to find where this Lily is. Here it comes. It's undodgeable. That's 1. Looks for 2, but ends up only giving the gems over to Ducky. This time, Bilal actually does want to stay alive, but they would love to get a kill in the meantime. Tyrant is going to be dead as soon as he drops back down to earth, but at least he could interrupt this countdown. As Lily comes around left for the interception, and if really any 2 brawlers go down here, it could be an interruption, but it's only Lily to do so. We're going to have a tied ball game within this set, but it is a match point for Vatic.
Every monthly final so far, Vatic have suffered a really difficult matchup in their first round. It's been tough. Last month, it was a close 3-1 to Tribe. This time they get, I mean, arguably their easiest opponents in the first round, and they're still really hard to beat. This is still legitimately strong competition. North America is actually very, very deep this year, and FA Homeless is showing why they're actually the higher seed in this encounter. Here's Zemp, though. Dove on by Bilal once more. The alley, though, survives this time to take even more space. Oh, buddy, this could be nasty stuff. Bilal goes 2 for 1. And Ducky is going to have to get out.
Bilal doesn't have to go on to a brawler that's weak in close range. These alligator hands are rated E for everyone, is what he said. As he picked up the 2K, he will fall on offense this time, but again, it's part of the job. He did his job. He didn't just trade, he actually got one more kill than he needed to. Here comes the vanish from Zemp, and as Livy has to be expecting this, Bilal with the auto aim in close range is able to dispatch Zemp really nicely. But as long as Lily is occasionally getting aggressive, if she just has one super, hypercharge would be better, but one super is all she needs to steal all the gems for FA Homeless' side.
Okay, Ducky needs to back away there. Another unsuccessful foray for Bilal, but as Livy's sitting on a hoard of 7 gems. Ducky hoping to do something about that now. That's Ducky with the wide on an IE. Bilal on in. Zemp has a hypercharge super there, and we'll have an idea of where Livy is, but Lollipop drop here to try and protect as Livy, and Zemp does not connect, does not have a super. It's unclear. Either way, he gets nothing done off that hyper, and now he gets taken down. FA Homeless, this is starting to crumble in a screaming heap. Ducky with the Y surrounded, cleaned up by his Livy, and now Vatic with 13 gems look to end the series here and now.
Zip wants to recover this, but it looks like it's going to have to be Tyrant again, charging in airborne as he only has 5 seconds to make a heroic play. Not possible. Ducky trying to do the same, can get a little bit of invulnerability, but not a gem carrier in sight. Vatic finally correct on last month's problems and make it through the quarterfinals.
For a team that isn't focused so much on Brawl Cup as the postseason, this is completely acceptable trajectory for them to take. It's gotta feel like the curse has been broken. This is a team with org backing who have had a very difficult strength of schedule, but they've shown us up against a very quality team. This Homeless FA outfit are the real deal, that they're able to find success. The drafts have been good. They've been letting ball through on purpose because they felt like they've had the antidote. And Bilal's picked up some really technical brawlers and found success.
Who was the MVP for you guys here?
I think just within this last one, it was probably Bilal because he got so many 2Ks. I feel like, though, if you read the players' reactions, their faces on the cams, it wasn't really celebration. It wasn't that much of a sigh of relief either. They're kind of like, oh, I guess that happened, because Zemp had a game-winning hypercharge that went completely